guys, and welcome back to the kitchen. Today's project is Pop Tarts, but not your normal strawberry filled variety. Today we are going to try and do something a little different with the traditional Pop Tart, and we're going to try and make a pizza Pop Tart. So in looking this up online, it seems most people that try to make Pop Tarts just use a basic puff pastry dough. So that's what we are going to do. And I'm only going to do a half batch because, I mean, how many pizza Pop-Tarts do you need? This will probably be Andrew's lunch for today, and there's probably going to be enough in this for him, and hopefully I'll get to sample one as well. So let's dive in. So a half recipe of puff pastry consists of 1 cup plus 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour, and I have a little bit more here for when we go to roll it out. It consists of a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of white sugar, which I have mixed in here. Okay. Here is the thing. It calls for a half cup of unsalted butter cut into 1/2-inch cubes. You really want to make sure your butter's cold. I know some recipes you really want your butter to be, warm and kind of soft so that you can incorporate it easier, but this you actually do want it quite cold. So this has been in the fridge right up until now. And then in terms of, also some ice water, okay, to mix with it. So in terms of our toppings, we're going to go real simple. We've got some pepperoni that I have sliced up. We've got some leftover pasta sauce we're going to use as our pizza sauce. And then of course we have some mozzarella cheese, okay? So let's get started. I'm no baker. Doesn't require a whole lot of specialized equipment. I do have baking trays here that I've lined with parchment. I've got my oven preheated to 400. This is a total crapshoot, so we'll see how this ends up. So I'm going to start by adding my salt and my sugar to my flour, giving it a little bit of a mix. Now if you have a food processor, this is super easy to do because you just kind of plop your butter and flour into your food processor with a little bit of ice water. You pulse it a few times and it would come together. You're looking for kind of a mealy texture, but I wanted to show you that you can do it without. And so for that, I'm just going to use, I have like a pastry cutter here, and then I've got my bench scraper to just help me manipulate and also to cut the dough when it's done. So I'm going to start adding in my butter. It's not quite all of it, but I'll just start incorporating it here. Now you'll find that when you, if you've done it right anyways, you'll find that when you go to roll it out, you will see little chunks of butter in your dough, and that's what you want. Those little chunks of butter are what put the puff in your pastry, because as they cook, the butter melts, it releases steam, and that's what forms all those delicious little pockets. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons rather of ice water to start. Put the rest of our butter in now. And you can do this with forks if you don't have a pastry cutter like this one, or try a potato masher if you have one. If you really want to try something neat, you can actually freeze your butter in a block. Like cut yourself, you know how on the packages they have the measurements. Cut yourself a 1/2 cup block of butter, put it in the freezer for a good couple of hours. Overnight is even better. And just use a cheese grater and grate it in. That works really well. Not that I am such an expert. I am not a pie baker. It's been literally probably years since I have made puff pastry. Puff pastry and pies are really much more the specialty of my good family friend, Judy Serafenton. Now also, Francine Blakely. That lady can make a mean pie. Her crust is delicious, so is Judy's. I'm not so much into peaches, but my mom tells me that Judy's peach pie is like prize money. So they might be watching me right now and wincing outwardly. Okay, I think we're almost there. A little bit more liquid in that, I feel. It's still a bit dry. And then I'll show you kind of the consistency here that we've ended up with. I think we're good now, actually. It feels like it's gonna, when I go to roll it, it feels like it's going to stay together. But it's very well, the butter is very well incorporated. These, if you ever see one of these at like a thrift store or a garage sale, this I would really suggest picking it up. This is a great thing to have in your repertoire. It makes great egg salad sandwiches too, and it mashes potatoes nicely too. So, okay, so here is sort of what we've ended up with. You can see that when I squeeze it, it holds together. So we're just gonna give it a little bit more of a knead with our hands. It's looking good. Of course, the warmth from your hands starts releasing some of that butter. You want to make sure everything is incorporated. Don't want to waste it. Okay. There's our dough. All right. So now some puff pastry recipes want you to put it in the fridge and let it sit for several hours. This one did not seem to. It said it was, you could make it in about 15 minutes and use it right away. So we're gonna try. Set my water aside here. Okay, I'm just going to kind of form my puff pastry into a rectangle, because I find that if you start with the shape you want, it's much easier. Now, got a little flour down here, and we're going to roll out, giving a quarter turn. And we're going to go about, we're trying for a 1/4 inch thick. Feel, because of the heat in the kitchen from the stove being on and having worked it with my hands, I can feel that it's already starting to release some butter under there, so keep it floured because you don't want it to stick. All right, and just keep giving it a 1/4 turn and tossing the flour underneath. Work with your rolling, excuse me, work with your rolling pin sort of from the middle out. Now this is going to be interesting to cut, because although I started with a rectangle, I have not got a rectangle now. I'm actually going to fold it up again. And give it another try. See if we can't keep it into more of a rectangle shape. If nothing else, I'm thinking this might give us lots more layers in our pastry. This is looking better. Use my scraper to scrape any butter that's kind of sticking on the counter there. Good. So right now we're at about a 1/2 inch thick, I'm gonna say. I'm gonna keep going until we get to about a 1/4 inch. almost there. Very gingerly lifting the dough. There we go. Okay, I'd say that's pretty good. So, let's see, dust off my hands first. Covered in flour here. Okay. Pick up the camera, I'll show you what we ended up with. Okay, whoops. All right, so we are going to try and we're going to try and slice this into rectangles. So just remember that with the Pop Tart, it's like an envelope, a sealed envelope. So every piece you slice needs a corresponding size or slightly larger piece to cover the filling. So let's just take off our rough edges here. Let's see what we're working with. So that's pretty good. This is why I tried extra hard to keep it in a nice rectangle, just so that there's minimal waste. But anything you do have, if there's enough of it, you can feel free to re-roll it. Okay, so let's do we want to go bigger pizza things or smaller? Let's go smaller. I love a challenge. All right, this should give us 3, okay? And again, we're going right down the middle. So basically, it looks like, what we look like we've got here is we've got 3 pieces of puff pastry that measure about 4 inches this way and about 3 inches this way, I'm gonna say. Okay. Looks a little bit more than a 1/4 inch, I think. Anyway, so we take our cookie sheet that we have, our parchment paper, and we're going to put 1 piece down, and we are simply going to get a clean spoon. I'm going to put a little bit of sauce in the middle. Now, I know it doesn't look like a lot, but you don't want to overfill. I know that's probably a tendency, is to want to stuff it full of stuff, but this is not a Panzerotti, it's a Pop Tart. And if you stuff it full, it's just going to ooze all over and make a big mess. So now some pepperoni slices. Okay. And some mozzarella cheese. Probably too much mozzarella there. Okay. Yep. This one I can almost guarantee is going to pop open, but we'll leave it as a cautionary tale. So I'm going to take the corresponding piece that's going to be our top for it. I'm going to roll it ever so slightly, just because it's got to go over all that filling. So what we're going to do is we are going to get a beaten egg, and we're going to brush the outside of our pastry with some egg wash, okay, so that it has something to stick to. You can also then use the leftover egg on the top to brush, and it'll give you a nice golden brown crust when it comes out. So let me grab an egg. Andrew, could you please a carton of eggs? No eggs in this fridge, so I have sent the young lad off to the garage for a fresh carton of eggs. As you know, Pop Tarts, or maybe you don't know, Pop Tarts typically have icing on the top of them when they're, pastries that you eat for breakfast with like fruit filling inside. So I thought to myself, well, what would you do on the top if you wanted to do that? Well, you could do a lot of things. You could do some extra cheese and put it under the broiler and just really melt the cheese, get it bubbly. Something else that I thought might be really good would be, instead of using egg wash on the top once you get it all sealed, would be to use some melted butter and garlic powder so that and maybe some dried parsley, so it kind of tastes like garlic bread. I might still do that actually. That sounds pretty darn good. So we'll see. We'll see what we do. But we will get our bowl. Thank you, Andrew. One eggy weggy. Oh, why is it every time you cook your nose itches? Oh. Okay, I'm gonna add just a tiny bit of my ice water to that, actually. Like 1 tablespoon. Now, all right, we've got our beaten egg. I'm gonna put you on hold here. Okay, had to put you on hold there for a few minutes while I retrieved my basting brush. I used to have an arsenal of these things, and they're great. They're silicone, but I don't know, in my house, basting brushes seem to be like socks that go into the laundry. They never seem to come out. And they've dwindled in number over the years. So, just very lightly brushing the sides of my Pop Tarts with some of that egg wash. And then we're going to take our top. All right, moment of truth, folks. And a fork. And we're just going to press it down so that it seals those edges. Because it is puff pastry, it does want to puff up. And there's so much filling, even though I said not to overfill them, there is so much filling. I feel like this one's definitely going to explode, but we will see. If it's a mess, that'll be the one I use. All right, we're gonna fork the top of our pastry to let the steam vent, and that's what we've ended up with. So I'm gonna do this for the other two, and I will check back in when these suckers are ready to go in the oven. Okay, so here we have our completed Pop Tarts. Edges are all sealed. I think in light of time, because it is 11:45, and I'm hoping these will sort of be ready around lunchtime for my boy and I'm just going to give them a brush with some of that egg wash. And then I think I'm going to sprinkle some seasoning on top. But like I said, you could use melted butter if you wanted to. You're just sort of looking to get that golden brown finish out of the oven. Garlic powder. Okay. And you could also add some Italian seasoning at this point too, if that's something that floats your boat. So the oven's good to go. I'm gonna pop these in, and I really don't know how long it's gonna take. I'm gonna check them about 8 minutes, and we're just gonna kind of watch from there, because I really have no idea how long it's gonna take for this to brown up. I'm thinking maybe 12 to 15, but I don't know. And I have them on a low oven rack right now. We'll see. Okay, so here are the finished product. As you can see, we had one that busted open, but a little too much filling. But do they look like Pop Tarts? No, only in the sense that they're rectangular and about the same size. Do they look good? I think so. They smell pretty good, but the proof will be in the tasting. So we're going to do that now. Okay, so once again, the teenager has agreed to be the official taste tester.
Well,
so
lunch.
Wow. Yeah, it's either you eat that or you don't get fed.
Yeah, what do you think? You're not gonna eat? Breaks like a Pop Tart.
Don't burn yourself. Are they good? Yeah? Really? Excellent. Okay, so that's a make again? Okay, cool. Okay, so before I forget to tell you, these had a full 15 minutes in the oven. Maybe could have even had a little bit more, but they are fully cooked. They're nice. The color is golden on the top. Smell really good. I'm gonna give it my taste test. The kid was right. They are really good. Of course, what is wrong with puff pastry stuffed with pizza makings? I would think that you could use just about any pizza toppings you'd want in this, but I would say that if you were going to use something like peppers, tomatoes, or onions that have a little bit more water in them, saute them in a separate pan first and kind of press out any extra water, because I don't think you really want it impeding your crust. But the crust is nice. It's light. It is flaky. It's buttery. It's really good. It almost would bear making an entire pie stuffed with pizza stuff that you would slice into wedges.
You better be doing that soon.
And the kid gets the last word. Okay, not really. I get the last word. So thanks for joining me again in my kitchen. And let me know if you try the Pop Tarts, whether you make them sweet or savory, and what you think of the video. Take care now. Bye.